Okay, thanks. And what happens to a person who commits suicide? Does his soul experience something different from someone who experiences death at an old age?
Well, slightly. It can depend on the reasons for it. And the idea is that more often than not, it represents that there might be, shall we say, unfinished business, that they sort of cut their agreement short. So, nevertheless, they are wrapped in unconditional love. They are given an opportunity to assess why they made those choices, what was going on in the personality as a physical being that allowed them to feel they had no other choice. At the same time, they are still capable of having the choice as to how to finish the agreement. Because they made an agreement, the agreement must be followed through with. Now, how they follow through with it is up to them. They're still given the freedom to decide whether they want to experience the idea of another incarnation to play it out, whether they want to simply pursue following through with that in spirit or in another reality, in another dimension, in another civilization, as an incarnation or not. But the idea is that once you create a momentum by making an agreement to experience certain themes, you will in some way, shape, or form need to finish that because a momentum and inertia has been created and the momentum will carry you forward. But you can wait a while, you can reassess, you don't have to do it right away. You're not automatically pulled back into physical reality or anything like that. You are given an opportunity to discuss with your guides, with counsels, with anyone helping you, your soul family, to discuss what you got out of it, what you are learning, and what you want to do about completing the agreement in some way, shape, or form. You may complete it in a different way altogether, but you will choose ultimately to complete it because you're the one that initiated it from a particular perspective that it was important to do so for your soul's growth. And as a soul, once again, you will not abandon that reason. So you'll play it out in some way, shape, or form, but you're given more than enough opportunity to make the decision as to how to do that while you are wrapped in unconditional love and assisted by your guides and your soul family.
And how can the formula help you if you're going through the grieving experience?
Well, again, it's all right to momentarily experience the grief, missing something, missing someone that was in your life physically. But the longer that lasts, the more you actually prevent yourself from feeling the connection that is still there to the person, even though they're now back in spirit. So grief can ultimately be a block to communication because you are still experiencing your relationship to them as something that's lost, something that's missing. So we understand that in the moment, grief can be something that will simply allow you to come to terms with the idea that something has changed in your relationship with them. That's fine. That's what the grief is for. It's giving you an opportunity to examine yourself and your relationship with that person so that you can come to terms with the fact that something has changed. But now you have to get to a point where you realize that you're now dealing in a relationship with them where they are more than what they were. So you can now start to experience it with joy and congratulations that they have expanded back into their natural state, that they are experiencing unconditional love in their experience, that they are sending you that unconditional love, and they are urging you and encouraging you to reach out into spirit to know that they're all right and to know that that relationship will always exist no matter what is going on with them, because that's always going to be a piece of them. And it is always going to be important for their soul's growth to have had that relationship in physical reality with you. So grief ultimately needs to transform and gives you the opportunity to transform the idea of your relationship to them by letting go of the belief systems that you've lost something, that something is missing, and starting to reconnect to them in a bigger, larger, more expanded, more loving way.
Okay, and can you give your perspective on teachings that talk about waking up from this world and returning to God? There seems to be an idea out there that this is a world of ego and suffering, and that we are going to eventually wake up from this world and return to God, and then stay in that love forever. How does this reconcile with ideas of us being eternal creators who continue to learn and grow and explore forever? Is that just some negative part of our ego wanting that?
In some senses, yes. The idea is that if you have experienced a lot of, shall we say, of the tough school, the challenging school, and in a way where you experience the effort of transforming and overcoming negative and fear-based beliefs, then yes, you are longing for relief, you are longing for rest, and that's okay, and you can have that. But the idea is that once you go back into spirit and are wrapped in unconditional love and have had a chance to process and rest from the experience you chose to have in physical reality, whether positive or negative, it is now the soul's prerogative to understand that it doesn't want to remain at rest. It wants to move forward. It wants to grow. It wants to go with the flow of creation. And therefore, it will choose something, whatever that may be, again, to have an experience that will allow the soul to grow. So that never ends, but you are given an opportunity, as you say, to quote unquote, go back to God. And what that basically means is, yes, you can take a break, you can take a rest, you can have a soul vacation in order to allow yourself to process what you went through, to absorb it, to grow from it, and to determine from those lessons what it is you would next like to do that will allow your soul to continue to expand and to grow. Because once you are a soul, you can feel that urge much more strongly, that there is an actual inertia and a momentum to expand. And therefore, you will ultimately choose to continue to have another experience that will allow you to expand. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to incarnate back on Earth or anything like that. It's up to you. But you will choose to grow and expand, because that's the nature of existence, is to be all that it is. And that never ends. So that growth, that expansion doesn't necessarily have to continue to be felt in a suffering way, in a way that tires you out, but you will choose to grow and expand after you have taken a break, if you feel that a break is necessary. You are always allowed to move at your own pace. That is comfortable for you. You may forget that when you're in physical reality because of the nature of your belief system in physical reality that may make things seem to be too urgent. But once you are back in spirit, you will fall back into your natural flow, your natural pace, and you will take whatever amount of timelessness is necessary for you to decide, yes, I'm now excited to expand and move forward again in some way, shape, or form, and you will make the appropriate choice at that time.
And if we are only ever the person that we are now, like you say, and never become anyone else, how can we continue to evolve and have new experiences after the person that we are dies and the lifetime is over?
Well, this person is assuming that physical personality is something that in some way, shape, or form is all you are. So you will always continue to expand and grow and have different experiences, as I just described, in some way, shape, or form. And again, you can create an experience of reincarnation to appear to be a different person, but the idea is that it's just the way that your consciousness starts looking from a higher level through different eyes that all exist at the same time. So it's just a matter of changing the focus of what you are as a consciousness to have these different experiences that all exist simultaneously. So you will use that ability to grow and expand, but the person that you're looking through the eyes of, just to use that particular euphemism, that remains that person, but it doesn't mean you can't have an experience of being a different person, because in a sense, the person that you are familiar with that you are now is not who you are anyway. It's still eyes that you're looking through, and you have decided to look through other eyes, and you will decide to look through other eyes. And therefore, it's just a matter of focusing your consciousness in a way that gives you different experiences that allow you to grow, even though you are taking advantage of a structure that already exists. We know
And
that that
so,
explanation can be a little bit confusing, but nevertheless, that's the best we can do with your language.
actually, that's very helpful.
All right.
Um, if all the parallel realities already exist and we never make changes to the structure, does it mean that the realities with pain and suffering will always be experienced by some part of consciousness?
Yes, nothing ever goes away. But again, you have to understand there are different ways to experience that concept. So there are many different ways to experience it. Sometimes you have experienced it in the way that you might call negatively. And yes, that's always a choice. It's always there. It's always part of the structure. So yes, the opportunity always exists. It has to, because some souls actually choose that for their own growth.
Okay, we have some ET questions I think I'll ask here. Could you explain why Sasani clothing is blue? What kind of clothes do people wear in Willa's society?
We have never said that all Sasani clothing is blue. I may have described some of the things I was wearing as blue at the time, but not all Sasani clothing is blue. We're not sure why you understood it that way. Nevertheless, there is a variety of color in Esani clothing. A lot of it is similar, a lot of it is form-fitting, a lot of it serves many different functions, and we actually have said in the past that it can change color, and it can actually change its function, because it is a kind of nanotechnological suit that can become many things, including becoming a spacesuit. So it's not always the same color, and it's not always performing the same function. That's a misunderstanding. If we were not clear about that, we apologize.
So it almost
Now,
sounds
in
like
Willa's time, the clothing is a variety of things. Mostly, it is always very comfortable. It is relatively loose-fitting in many cases, although, again, there are exceptions based on the functionality of what it is that people choose to wear. But by Willa's time, a lot of people will simply wear what they're comfortable wearing. Sometimes even what might be considered to be a mix of older fashion styles and styles that may come from other planets as well.
And are there other members of your family that are currently being channeled through other people on Earth right now?
There are other members of the Sasani society that are being channeled, no other members of my family, except now and then you have heard my father come through on rare occasions.
Do you have siblings?
Yes, I have a sister that is engaged in the idea of the creation of the birthing villages that crop up now and then to allow Sasani children to be born.
Anybody else?
There are others. It is not time for me to talk about them.
Okay. And why is it that you're in a parallel reality 500 light years from Sirius and not just 500 light years from Sirius constellation?
No, you have misunderstood what we have said. We are in a parallel reality. Our solar system is about, if you were to overlap the realities, 500 light years in the direction of the Orion constellation from Earth. We have never said we are 500 light years away from Sirius. We are 500 light years away from Earth in the direction of the Orion constellation, not in the direction of Sirius.
And for those beings from other races, Pleiadian, for example, that have incarnated as a human in order to support humanity, what will they do after they leave the human body? Will they re-embody and rejoin their original family in the Pleiadian sense?
Well, some of them may, some of them may not. It's up to them, isn't it? You're asking that question, whoever is asking it, as if there is simply one way for them to do things. They can decide what they will do next. Some of them may continue their Pleiadian journey. Some of them may continue a human journey on Earth. Some of them may go elsewhere. It's up to the individual to decide what is best for their soul.
Okay, and there is a symbol known as the flower of life, and it's been used by a number of different cultures. Can you
Yes.
tell us anything about this symbol? Is there any hidden meaning, and what could we learn from this symbol?
Yes. The symbol is a shorthand representation of the idea we have discussed of the double Fibonacci spiral overlapping one another in opposite directions, and bringing out the idea of the nodal points where the lines cross, that represent the different states of energy and matter that form what you understand to be the physical and non-physical multiverse. So it's a shorthand symbol that represents the underlying structure, energetically speaking, in terms of a consciousness pattern of how all matter and energy is presented in the multiverse.
Okay. And do the Giza pyramids line up with Orion, and also do they line up with Cygnus, since that was where the Anunnaki originated?
The three main pyramids on the Giza Plateau do have some alignment with the idea of Orion and the three stars in the belt. They do not line up with Cygnus. And remember, these things were created long after the Anunnaki were gone. So there is no indication in the three pyramids of the idea of the Anunnaki's connection with Cygnus. It is not representative of that. It is representative of the Orion connection.
Okay. And you have described how crop circles on Earth are higher level communication with Gaia. Do phenomenon like crop circles occur on Esani and other worlds? And how do they differ from those on Earth? And how do you relate to them?
They do in different ways and can actually form in different substances. The idea is that it can be experienced, as on our world and on some other worlds, as a very playful interaction with certain interdimensional levels of consciousness that communicate by making alterations in the electromagnetic energy of certain physical substances in physical reality. But they don't have to all appear in crops. Some of them can appear in water, some of them can appear in ice, some of them can even appear in solid matter, some of them can appear in the air. So it just depends on how the vibrational resonance of the civilization creates a medium for those interdimensional consciousnesses to be capable of projecting their communicational symbols. On Earth, it is used in crops because that is one of the natural ways you have of relating to the idea of Earth and the elementals, is in the things that supply sustenance to you as a human being. And so it's the easiest way to get your attention. It's the easiest medium to manipulate because you have an intimate relationship with the idea of crops because they feed you.
Hmm. And can you explain your role with the Ascended Masters? Are you working with them?
Yes, in many cases, we have actually mentioned this before, where in transmitting to your collective consciousness, we always also go through the different archetypal levels, which includes the Ascended Masters, in order to make sure that the information we are sharing with all of you does not in any way, shape, or form intervene or spoil the surprises you have created for yourself to discover. So yes, we are always working with them to determine the best way in which to deliver information that serves humanity best.
And is there a symbol we can meditate on to improve our sense of self-confidence?
You would have to examine the beliefs about why you are confident that you have no confidence. So allow yourself to understand there is no such thing as a lack of confidence, but you can be very confident that you have no confidence. So see the symbol of the yin yang, the paradox, that there is both sides blending together, creating what appear to be opposite ideas, but they're still part of one thing, and each contains a part of the other. Paradox. Just think paradox. When you think anything like that is lacking, I lack trust, I lack confidence, I lack power, understand from the point of paradox. The symbol, whatever symbol you like that represents paradox, be it the yin-yang symbol or even just the letter P, capital P for paradox. Allow yourself to focus on that and understand the paradox in what you are saying. When you think you have little confidence or no confidence, remember you're confident about that. When you think you have no trust, you lack trust, you are trusting that idea. When you think you have no self-empowerment, no power at all, you're using your power and control to create that experience of lack of empowerment. So think of it in terms of paradox. Whatever symbol or letter represents paradox to you, to put you back in the center, in the neutral space between what appear to be two opposing ideas.
And how can we tell we're living in a split parallel reality dimension? You've spoken about it being like looking through glass. How do we know we're looking at a split reality or that we're not actually part of that reality?
You know it by when you follow the formula and you experience different things than other people are experiencing that may even seem almost impossible or contradictory to experience in a reality like what they're creating. You know by your own experience of what you are attracting into your life that you are existing in a different vibrational reality than they are.
Okay. And lastly, this person says, when I started listening to your transmissions, I was attracted to the crystal skull session as well as the sacred circuitry session. What is the connection between these two topics, and how can I best utilize this connection for contact?
The sacred circuits are representative of the idea of changing the neural pathways in your brain to be more capable of receiving higher frequency energy. The crystalline matrix, the molecular makeup of the crystal skulls, is a kind of representation of this idea that they have certain pathways within them, molecularly speaking, in the crystalline formation that allows them to collect and absorb and retain and transmit information that is in alignment with the rearrangements you have made of the neural net in your brain by following the sacred circuits, which make you a better antenna to receive the kind of higher frequency information that is stored in the skulls.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. So we thank you for these interactions, for allowing us to share these perspectives. And again, we encourage you to take the actions and the steps, if you're willing, to be able to align with open contact, to give others a chance to do so as well, to recognize the difference between theory and what has gone beyond theory because of your own research. Take the time to do so. Take the time to recognize when something has gone over the border from theory to fact. Even if it's still anecdotal, you can allow yourself to know the difference. But in this context, obviously, we are talking about the idea of contact with ETs, such as ourselves, with other interdimensional beings. But all of this comes down to having more contact within yourselves and with each other. Being a reflection of the idea of the interstellar alliance in your own reality. Mirroring that vibration, that energy. So, our unconditional love to you all, and we give you over now to the remainder of this transmission. Go into whatever receptive state, meditative state, relaxed state you so desire, you so prefer. And we encourage you, as always, to breathe and breathe and